You've received tomato tips from neighbors, from other tomato growers, even nurseries. But there's one thing they never told you about growing tomatoes. So today, I'm going to share with you that one thing that you need to know. You only have a certain number of days for your blooms to set fruit. And you need to know that it's dependent upon where you live. In Dallas, where I live, I have 38 days to get my tomatoes to flower and set bloom. And in Jacksonville, you have 48 days. In Charlotte, you have 43 days. In Atlanta, you have 38 days. And you poor people in Phoenix only have 25 days to get your tomatoes to set bloom. So how do you determine the number of days that you have in your city? And why is it important? But first, I want you to subscribe down below so you can come back to this because you're going to forget it later. So click on the red subscribe button now and you'll be able to come back to it and you can share it with your friends and they'll thank you for it later. Tomatoes require an exact temperature to set fruit. Tomatoes require both the right daytime and right nighttime temperatures to set fruit. Let me repeat that. Both the day and the night temperatures have to be right for your tomatoes to be able to set fruit. Tomatoes are a lot like Goldilocks. It can't be too hot, it can't be too cold, it has to be just right. Tomatoes are fickle. Here's how it works. During the day, tomatoes require a minimum temperature of 70 degrees to set fruit. The maximum daytime temperature is 85 degrees. Any hotter and the tomato bloom will not set. And above 90 degrees, the flower is likely just to fall off the vine. There is one exception. Cherry tomatoes have a higher potential to set fruit in hotter weather. They have the ability to set fruit when other varieties will not. Now, the other half, nighttime temperatures. Tomatoes require a minimum of 55 degrees at night for them to set fruit, and a maximum nighttime temperature of 75 degrees. So here's how I calculate the blooming temperature days for Dallas. I look up on the internet on one of the weather pages and I search for the first day of the year when the temperature average will be 70 degrees. And lo and behold, it's March 15th. So now we have our minimum daytime temperature for tomatoes to set bloom. Then I search for a minimum nighttime temperature of 55 degrees at night. And I find out that day is April the 10th. So now I know I have my minimum day and minimum nighttime temperature. So April 10th is going to be the day that with the day and night temperatures are warm enough for tomatoes to set bloom. Now this is an average. Temperature may be colder or warmer at the time that you have for this date, but that's okay. So now I know that I have to work and fertilize, use super bloom, as I discussed in my prior video on selecting tomato varieties. So I need my tomatoes blooming by April 10th or before. If you get lucky and the weather in your city is warmer than usual, then you can have fruit setting earlier. That's great. Okay, let's talk nighttime temperatures. Now I go back to the weather page and I search for the nighttime temperature when it reached 75 degrees as the average nighttime temperature. And that date is June 24th. All right. So now I go back to the weather page and search for the minimum average daytime temperature of 85 degrees. And I find out that date is May 18th. So I now have my nighttime temperatures, and the front side of that, May 18th, is the last day, on average, that my tomatoes will set fruit. Okay, so now we have our 2 dates, April 10th and May 18th. We count the number of days, we come up with 38. This is the number of days that I have in Dallas, Texas to have my fruiting tomatoes or flowering tomatoes to be able to set fruit before it gets too hot. Okay, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's talk about how to determine the number of tomato blooming days you have for your fruit and your city. So if you've had trouble before with setting fruit on tomatoes, let me tell you what to do. This gardener's tip is buy plants that are big. Ones that are going to bloom within a couple of weeks of when you purchase them. Or buy plants that already have fruit or flowers on them. So when we buy our plants the first day of spring, March 21st, we're already fertilizing them with Super Bloom to get them to bloom to be ready for the date, April 10th, that they can set fruit. So if you liked our video, give me a thumbs up, come back and see us again, and be sure and subscribe so you can come back and remember to be able to calculate the number of days that you have for your tomatoes to set fruit.